The envelope landed on the dining table with a sharp slap that echoed through the silent apartment. "Sign them," Sophia said coldly. Daniel looked down at the papers. Divorce papers. For a few seconds, he simply stared at them while rain tapped against the windows. 3 years of marriage had somehow been reduced to a stack of legal documents. "What is this?" he asked quietly. "You know exactly what it is." Daniel lifted his eyes toward his wife. Sophia crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. The expensive dress she wore probably cost more than his entire wardrobe. "I'm tired of struggling," she continued. "I'm tired of watching my friends travel the world while I count every dollar. I'm tired of pretending everything is okay." Daniel remained silent. "You promised me a good life." "I promise to love you." She laughed. "That doesn't pay bills." The words hit harder than she realized. For months she had been growing colder. For months she had complained about their small apartment, their aging car, their simple lifestyle. But Daniel never imagined she would actually end their marriage over money. "You're divorcing me because I'm poor?" he finally asked. "Yes." The answer came instantly. No hesitation. No guilt. No regret. Sophia slid a pen across the table. "Sign." Daniel stared at her. Then he slowly picked up the papers. His eyes moved over every page. Sophia expected him to argue. To beg. To cry. Instead, he calmly signed every document. That surprised her. "You're not even going to fight for us?" Daniel placed the pen down. "No." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. "Why?" A strange smile appeared on his lips. "Because if money matters more than love to you, then there's nothing left to save." Sophia rolled her eyes. "Spare me the speech." Daniel stood. "Goodbye, Sophia." And just like that, he walked out. She watched the door close. A sudden feeling twisted inside her stomach. But she ignored it. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later. Sophia felt relieved. Free. She celebrated with friends. Posted photos online. Told everyone she was finally moving on from her failed marriage. Most people supported her. Some secretly judged her. She didn't care. A month later she began dating Victor. A wealthy businessman who drove luxury cars and wore designer watches. Exactly the kind of man she believed she deserved. Everything seemed perfect. Until one morning. Sophia woke up and checked social media. A headline caught her attention. Her coffee cup slipped from her hand. Coffee splashed across the floor. She didn't notice. Her eyes remained locked on the screen. The article showed a photograph. A photograph of Daniel. Her ex-husband. The man she had divorced for being poor. Except he wasn't wearing cheap clothes anymore. He was standing beside a private jet. Surrounded by reporters. Smiling. The headline read. Hidden billionaire heir takes control of international empire. Sophia's heart stopped. No. She opened the article. Read every word. Then read it again. And again. Each sentence felt like a hammer smashing against her skull. According to the article, Daniel Harper was the sole heir to Harper Global Holdings. One of the largest privately owned business empires in the world. Real estate. Technology. Energy. Finance. Billions of dollars. The article explained that Daniel's grandfather had recently passed away. Following his death, Daniel officially inherited controlling ownership of the company. Reporters estimated his net worth exceeded $4 billion. Sophia's hands began shaking. That's impossible. But it wasn't. The photographs were real. The interviews were real. Everything was real. A terrible memory suddenly surfaced. Years earlier, Daniel had mentioned coming from a wealthy family. She never believed him. He rarely talked about them. Lived modestly. Worked an ordinary office job. Drove a cheap car. Sophia assumed he was making stories. Now she realized the horrifying truth. Daniel had never been poor. He had chosen a simple life. A life away from family wealth. A life based on genuine relationships. And she had destroyed everything. Her phone rang. It was Victor. She answered. "Did you see the news?" she asked immediately. There was silence. Then Victor spoke. "Yeah. You knew. Everybody knows now." Sophia swallowed hard. "He's a billionaire." Another silence. Then Victor laughed. Not a happy laugh. A cruel one. "You divorced a billionaire because you thought he was broke." The humiliation burned like fire. Over the following weeks, Daniel became one of the most talked about people in the country. News channels covered every move. Business magazines featured him on their covers. Investors praised his leadership. His company's value surged. Meanwhile, Sophia's life began falling apart. Victor changed. The charming businessman disappeared. His true personality emerged. Controlling. Arrogant. Manipulative. Then one day she discovered the truth. Victor wasn't nearly as wealthy as he claimed. Most of his luxury lifestyle was financed through debt. Within months he vanished completely. Leaving behind unpaid bills and broken promises. Sophia suddenly found herself alone. Completely alone. Everywhere she looked she saw reminders of Daniel. Television. Internet. Newspapers. Billboards. The world seemed determined to remind her what she had thrown away. One evening she sat in her apartment staring at old photographs. Pictures from happier times. Simple times. Daniel cooking dinner. Daniel making her laugh. Daniel holding her hand during long walks. Back then she had everything she needed. She simply couldn't see it. Tears filled her eyes. For the first time she admitted the truth. She never loved money. She loved what she thought money would bring. Status. Attention. Validation. But now she had none of those things. And she had lost the one person who genuinely loved her. Months passed. The guilt grew heavier. Eventually she made a decision. She had to see Daniel. Not for his wealth. Not for his status. She needed closure. She needed to apologize. After several attempts, she finally secured a meeting through one of his assistants. The appointment was scheduled at Harper Global headquarters. Sophia arrived 20 minutes early. The building towered above the city like a monument to power. Glass. Steel. Luxury. Security guards greeted her politely. Employees rushed through the lobby. Everything looked impossibly grand. Her stomach twisted. A receptionist escorted her upstairs. Finally she reached Daniel's office. The doors opened. Sophia stepped inside. And froze. The office overlooked the entire city skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows surrounded the room. At the center sat Daniel. Calm. Confident. Powerful. Yet somehow exactly the same. He looked up from a document. Their eyes met. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally Daniel stood. "Hello, Sophia." His voice remained polite. Professional. Distant. Not angry. Not bitter. Just distant. That hurt more than hatred. "Hello," she whispered. He gestured toward a chair. "Please sit." She sat. Her hands trembled. Daniel noticed, but said nothing. The silence stretched. Finally Sophia spoke. "I'm sorry." Daniel remained quiet. "I know that doesn't fix anything." Still silence. Tears filled her eyes. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." Daniel leaned back. "You divorced me because you thought I was poor." She lowered her head. "Yes. Would you have divorced me if you knew who I really was?" The question felt like a knife. Sophia couldn't answer. Because both of them already knew the truth. "No," she whispered. Daniel nodded slowly. "Exactly." The room became painfully quiet. "I loved you," he said. The words shattered her. More than anything. A tear rolled down her cheek. "But I always wondered whether you loved me or the life you wanted me to provide." Sophia looked away. "I know. When you handed me those papers, you answered that question." She cried openly now. Every word was deserved. Every word was true. "I was selfish," she admitted. "Yes. I was blind. Yes. I destroyed our marriage. Yes." The honesty hurt. But Daniel wasn't cruel. He was simply telling the truth. Finally he sighed. "I don't hate you, Sophia." She looked up hopefully. But the next sentence crushed that hope. "I just don't love you anymore." Her heart sank. Months of regret. Months of guilt. Months of imagining a second chance. Gone in an instant. Daniel stood and walked toward the windows. The city stretched beneath them. "When my grandfather died, I inherited billions." He turned toward her. "But do you know something strange?" Sophia remained silent. "The most valuable thing I ever had wasn't money." His eyes met hers. It was trust. A lump formed in her throat. And once trust breaks, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Sophia nodded slowly. She understood. For the first time she truly understood. Money had never destroyed their marriage. Her choices had. Her priorities had. Her greed had. Daniel walked back to his desk. "I genuinely hope you find happiness." The words were sincere. Which somehow made them even more painful. Sophia stood. She realized there was nothing left to say. No argument. No excuse. No miracle. Some mistakes simply cannot be undone. She wiped her tears. "Thank you for seeing me." Daniel nodded. "Take care of yourself." She turned toward the door. Then stopped. "One last thing." Daniel waited. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me." A sad smile crossed his face. Then she left. The elevator ride down felt endless. When she stepped outside, the city air hit her face. For the first time in years, she felt completely exposed. No illusions. No excuses. No lies. Just truth. Across the street, giant digital screens displayed financial news. Daniel's face appeared on one of them. People admired him. Respected him. Celebrated him. Yet none of that mattered anymore. Because the greatest loss wasn't the billions she had walked away from. It was the man behind them. The man who had loved her when nobody was watching. The man who had offered loyalty instead of luxury. The man she abandoned because she believed wealth mattered more than character. Years later, Daniel would become one of the most successful business leaders in the world. His companies expanded across continents. His fortune multiplied. His name became legendary. Eventually he married again. This time to a woman who had known his secrets long before the headlines. A woman who loved him when he wore ordinary clothes and drove ordinary cars. A woman who saw his heart before his bank account. As for Sophia, she never forgot. Not a single day. Every success story she heard. Every interview she watched. Every headline she read. Reminded her of one brutal lesson. Sometimes the greatest treasures arrive disguised as ordinary people. And sometimes, by the time you discover their true worth, they belong to someone else forever.